ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to Nashville Fairgrounds as it plays host to race number 19 of the FTF Grand National Series presented by Barr Visuals. 150 laps here at this short track. Seth Cole alongside of Anthony McCrory. And Anthony, last week these drivers got the spacious 1.5 mile Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's a lot more congested here tonight. It's time to go short track racing under the lights.
Really high banks, really fast straights, and a lot of cars on the same track. It's going to be a bit of a battle between both the racetrack and the other drivers around you. If you can make it all these 150 laps without any contact, then you might be okay, but this is a short track. We're going to see some damaged race cars at the end of this, and that's what makes these short track races so enjoyable, but it's definitely going to be an endurance race tonight, for sure.
Jonathan Oates going to line up on the pole position here tonight. Only 18 points out of the regular season points lead behind Andrew Schwartz. He's going to have Adam Sweet lined up to his outside. Sweet was actually the fastest in practice, so look for him to keep his number 55 towards the front most of the day. There's the guys that finished first and second last week. Kenny Brady was the winner over Brian Mercurio, and they're going to make up row number 3. And as we look further on through the rear of this field, 36 drivers scheduled to take the green flag. 28 qualified their way in on speed. 7 drivers got in through the provisionals. And we were supposed to have a 20-lap consolation race here where the winner of that would get the last spot, the 36th spot in the field, but a little bit of a problems here with the iRacing room, and so having to get everything all situated for these drivers here tonight. But nonetheless, we're going to get ready for some good old short track racing here at Nashville Fairgrounds, and the pace car has left the racing surface, getting ready to turn them loose here tonight. Jonathan Oates going to get the early advantage. Adam Sweet into second. Oh, we got a car out of shape back there around the 4th position. Hard into the wall, but kept it going, so no caution will come out.
He's riding the wall at the minute. He's just come back down onto the racetrack. They might throw the yellow. That car is very poorly at the moment. The 56 has gone around. That's brought out the yellow there. That could have been disastrous, but the 78, the 078 is still trying to get around the track, but multiple cars involved, including, I believe Dorman was one of those cars that were involved in the 46.
I think he might have actually been one of the ones that was knocking down that outside wall. There is Robert Dorman. The car just ahead of him there that is skewed facing the wrong way. That's Dakota Ehrman in the 078, and that car's got some horrible suspension problems. Look how it's skewed to the left.
Yeah, it's not in a very happy way at the moment. What happened was he rode up on the wall, and then that really knocked his car loose, or it knocked the suspension on the rear end loose, and that the byproduct of this is now it's kind of crapping along down the pit road. But that could have been much worse. That happened at the front of the field. As we know, at short tracks, when these things happen at the front of the field, the end result can be catastrophic for the drivers behind. But thankfully, he was able to get to the high side, and everyone was getting to the inside and avoid it. But few drivers behind not so lucky, including Dorman, and the 84 was also involved. I think he was the one that spun in a little bit before everything happened in front.
Here you see the 46 of Dorman there off of turn 4. We'll go back and take a look at exactly what happened to him. A couple of drivers that were just behind, right in the vicinity of when the 078 got out of shape. Of course, our winner last week, Kenny Brady, was the 97 just behind him, and the little bit of a bump that Ehrman got going into the corner was courtesy of the points leader, the 67 of Andrew Schwartz.
And that could have been, for the points leader, that you don't want to have yourself into those situations early on, but that could have ended, like I said, it could have ended up really bad earlier on in the race. There was only on lap 1 that this happened, but so far everyone that's high up in the standings, it looks like they got out of it relatively okay, and everyone behind almost saved it, save for a couple of drivers. But off of pit road, everyone is. The lead hasn't really changed, and he's still Adam Sweet at the front of the field. But that, again, at the short track such as this, when things like this happen, it can end in disaster, and thankfully it didn't.
The first caution of the evening going to fly here in the first 5 laps of this race. Adam Sweet going to be the race leader when we eventually get the green flag, which we should be getting this next time by with the lights out top of the pace car. Steven Abogai is going to be lined up on the outside of the front row. Then Brian Mercurio, Nathan Rabideau, and Kenny Brady. They're going to be the top 5 when we go back under the green flag. We talked about the fact that only 36 drivers were supposed to take the green flag here tonight, but they only were a couple of cars over that, so all 39 drivers that showed up here tonight were allowed to take the green flag this evening. And so obviously a little bit bigger of a field. We've also actually got the lights back out here on the pace cars, so we'll run at least an extra lap of pacing here before getting them back underway at Nashville.
I'm not sure why they put the lights back on, but we it might be there were some stragglers at the back of the pack that were trying to catch up. That would be I think Ethan Corder and Jonathan Oates were a little bit behind the pack, so they were trying to give them enough time to get caught up back to the pack before we let them loose again. First caution came out on lap number 1. We are working lap 7 out of 150. Safety car will pull off this time by. We're going to get them set to go again. Like Seth said, Adam Sweet on the front, and he gets going, not wasting any time. Everyone behind him kind of got sleeping, and now the 003 trying to catch up in the middle line while he's got 2 drivers right behind him on the inside and the outside. That'd be the 93 and the 62 of Merciuru trying to go around the outside, not really looking like he's getting the outside line working at this racetrack.
Right green Interstate Batteries 18 of Josh Parker. Thought about maybe going 3 wide there with Mercurio and Rabideau, but instead Mercurio's going to clear on the top side, and so too will Parker. So at least for the time being here in the early stages, looks like that second groove is the place you want to be able to get that run off the corner. Rabideau's going to hold on to 5th, and now Jordan Worth, Kenny Brady. They'll duke it out for 6th as Worth gets slideways into the corner, up into the wall, keeps it straight. We still stay under the green, but a wild slide for the Stacey Compton throwback, and now the caution's out.
Yellow is back on the racetrack. That is for, I think it was Lucas Ploesel on the back, make that turn 3, I believe, that was spun around. So that is the cause for the yellow.
Here's the 45 of Lucas. Started this race towards the back, was kind of running in the eye of the storm, and brings out this second caution of the evening. Let's go back and see what happened to him. There were a couple of other drivers that were back in that vicinity as well. One driver I saw looked like he might have also come to a stop was the 035 of Brent Pankari.
I think the 1111 might have been the one that gave him a little bit of help. I think he sailed it into turn 1, and there was just no time for them to slow down, and they both got looped around, and I think the 56 was also almost involved in that one as well, but got down to the inside of the racetrack before getting caught up in that.
Yeah, definitely got a little piece there, did the 056 you alluded to of Luke Breitschoff. So the caution is going to fly for the second time here tonight, and it's obviously a short track, as we mentioned coming into this race, very congested for these drivers, and a lot of these guys coming off of a bunch of different tracks where they had a lot of room to work with, and now they're having to basically work with each other's braking zones. And you consider the fact too that you've got 39 drivers in the field here tonight. You've got some fast machines towards the rear of the field as well. I mean, I'm looking here outside of our top 20. Justin Malello's out there, Andrew Schwartz, Cosmin Ishinoshu, also Brett Pankari, who's up there in the point standings. Victor Valley's back here. So there's a lot of drivers that we've seen during the course of the season that have the speed. Right now, though, they don't have the track position.
Yeah, not at all. And then when you get into a run, you can make up positions, but the runs haven't been long enough in order to do that. But around the outside of the racetrack, we've seen a couple of drivers try to use that, and it's not really worked out too well in the opening couple of laps after a green flag comes out. That's not to say that that line won't come in later on. It most definitely could, but for the time being, the middle line really looks like the way to run. You're not trying to pin it down to the inside of the racetrack, so you're not having to scrub off that much speed, but you're also not hung out on the outside of the racetrack with a lot of room to the inside that people can try to duck in and try to steal position away from you. You're able to keep the speed in the middle line, but if we see some battles happen, we could have the potential for those drivers outside the top 20 to make their way up. into at least the top 20, perhaps even get into the top 10 if the run goes on long enough. That's to say that if the tires last and what the fuel runs are, there's a lot of things to consider when making a strategy, but that is the up front of it at the moment. But we're about ready to go back to green. Adam Sweet's still the leader.
Now, one thing that people are going to have to take notice of here, we won't be calling it really as much here tonight, but if you'll notice down here towards turn 3, you've got a set of dotted lines here down the back straightaway. Watch right there. You see as Adam Sweet hits that line right there, the third set of dotted lines. That's their choose cone here tonight. These drivers do have the choose cone rule of which lane they want to start in, and that's where they have to designate if they want the inside or the outside line. So keep an eye on that during the course of the evening, especially when we get towards the end of this race for possible late race restarts.
That could, depending on where you restart, that could make or break your race. Right now, that outside line's trying to get working for the third position. The 62 of Mercurio on the outside of the racetrack, trying to make it work. He's getting the slingshot down
Someone's
the front
hard on the wall
straightaway.
back there. Someone was really hard on the wall back there in 3 and 4. Not sure who that was, but I think they nosed it into the outside wall, and it might have been the 117. It was of Dalton Cowden.
It's also, I believe that's Ian Issue on the back of the spun around as well, the 84. I think he's involved again. Maybe Dalton Cowden also was involved in that one. Ethan Corder might have been involved as well. Adam Martin might be involved. There's at least 3 drivers that could be involved, and I think now Dakota Ehrman's still on pit road, so I don't think he was involved. But certainly those 4. I know I saw the 84 spun around. He was definitely one of those drivers that were involved.
You saw right there the contact. I believe that was the 60 car of Burgee that actually made the initial contact with the 117 of Dalton Cowden. We'll take another look at this here, but much like we had with our most recent caution, just a driver carrying maybe a little bit too much speed into the corner. And while there is 18 degrees of banking to be able to lean on going into these turns, there isn't a whole lot of room to be able to do that because for the most part, Nashville is a 2-groove racetrack. You're not going to see very many drivers going up to that third groove against that outside wall of their own accord.
Yeah, not at all. I on the point of Burgee, I don't know if that car ever bit. I think he was trying to arc it in, and what happened was it just went straight on. I don't think he ever intended to do that. So that when that happens, it's kind of scary. But and if I don't know, they almost saved it when they came out of the turn. I think that there might have been a little netcode involved, but then Burgee was the one that got pounded into the wall. So that was a cavalcade of misfortune that happened coming off of turn 4 down onto the front straightaway. But Seth, you alluded to it that this track is thin. And what we saw there was a product of it being thin yet again. There is no way that that could have been avoided, especially considering that the back straightaway is a little bit wider than you'd think it was. There's a lot of room down on the inside before you hit the inside wall, so it's not like you don't have any room to duck out, but when you go into a turn, that wall suddenly closes up and the inside is a lot closer than you think it is. It's almost kind of claustrophobic going around this track sometimes.
Yeah, only 3 degrees of banking on these straights, but as mentioned, 18 degrees of banking into the corners. The 60 of Burgee is on pit lane. As we saw, he went around with a little bit of help from both the 53 of Justin Malello and the 51 of, I believe that was Kyle Lawrence Short, and then he also collected up Cyrus Garinge in the 756, who, for the most part, got the worst amount of damage on the front end of his machine there. Garinge has come to pit road and is trying to get that machine repaired, but I believe right now currently scored 1 lap down, as is Dalton Cowden in the 117. Looks like we do have one driver officially out of the race here. We'll finish 39th with our back green, Dakota Ehrman, who brought out the first caution. We saw how that car was skewed the wrong way after the hard impact of the outside wall, and so he has an early night here at Nashville, as the battle's going to be for 4th going into 3.
This battle between it's actually kind of gotten a bit single file now between Mercurio and Brady, but Brady falls back into 5th place, and then behind there's a battle between Rabideau and we'll make that Parker and Zwack, now battling side by side. The 18 trying to get something going, but is losing ground, and what I said earlier might be a little bit incorrect, because it seems like the inside line now is trying to get some momentum, but that middle line is still getting the momentum off the turns. I say that then, and then Zwack pulls right in front of Naraki, which now has following into the clutches of the 22 of Paintner. But everyone trying to find their way in line. They don't want to have anything that happens earlier in the race where they get battling side by side. I think they might want to try and get into a long green flag run and kind of settle out to see where their car feels the best at.
Kind of feel like I've stepped into the twilight zone. Kyle Busch's Cup ride, battling Kyle Busch's Xfinity ride there in that 7th and 8th position with Parker and Zwack. Sean Butler has quietly made his way up into the podium now, running in the 3rd position, just ahead of Brian Mercurio. And I don't know what it is, but last week was our first race of the season covering the FTF Grand National Series, and Mercurio finished runner-up to Kenny Brady. These two can't seem to get away from each other. They're nose to tail 1 week later.
Yeah, absolutely. They know that when they get battling like this, that those two know what they're doing. They know how to get around these types of tracks, and it's really showing. Although now Ken Brady decides that he wants to have a fight for the 4th place position as he sticks it down the inside of Mercurio, but Mercurio on the outside of the racetrack continues to hold strong. Now to the inside goes Mercurio. But that's the 97 of Kenny Brady. He's been quietly making his way up through the field as well. But speaking on part of Butler and Mercurio, those two, if they can get into a battle, that will benefit some guys behind them, such as Brady and Rabideau, that are knocking on the door of the top 5. But they want to, once Mercurio and Butler start battling, they could open the door. We could see a lot of passes happen once, if that happens. But it looks more than likely that it will happen eventually, because right now they're right in the back bumper of each other yet again.
Kenny Brady, of course, last week's winner at Charlotte, is not running for the Grand National Series Championship. So while he had a win, he didn't pick up any points in that 97. The guy who's leading this race, however, the 55 of Adam Sweet, he is trying to get himself into a playoff position. He is running for the Grand National Series Championship, and right now keeping Stephen Abogay in his rearview mirror. He's done a good job of maintaining about half a second to maybe 4/10 at the least between himself and 2nd place. The battle right now seems to be for 3rd place on back.
Indeed it does. And speaking of the part of the championship, the points leader, Andrew Schwartz, is not having a great race at the moment. He is back fighting for the 12th, or make that the 20th position, just outside the top 20 right now, running 21st, but in a heated battle right now with Waterworth side by side. He needs to make up some ground in order to not lose this points lead, because Jonathan Oates is a few positions in front, make that right in front of him, as now they're going to battle momentarily as they try to get up now. But Schwartz is now up to 19th. Oates in a battle right now with Evan Rice. So those two need to get going to the front of the pack, or Nathan Rabideau sitting really nicely in make that the 6th position. He might be able to close down this points gap if everything holds the way it is right now, but we still got a long way to go before anything's decided on that front.
Nice job so far here tonight for Ryan Naraki in that Bobcat Ford Mustang. He's picked up 13 spots since the drop of the green flag, up to the 9th position, and obviously we've got an off week coming up next week, and then 8 straight weeks of races before we determine our playoff contenders, and Ryan Naraki's right down there around that bubble spot. So a good performance here tonight will have him maybe breathing a little bit easier by the time we end up getting in 2 weeks over to North Wilkesboro.
Another track, not similar in the sense that it's a bit tight, but a lot different than this racetrack for sure. So another tough challenge for these drivers to go through. Tell you what, the battle right now is heating up between our right around the 20th position cutoff area. Back here, you've got Evan Rice and Jake Poulin that are in a battle right now. There's actually a pretty big train of cars that are ending with Evan Rice at the moment. You've got Zach Hudson at the head of this pack, and then you've got Hagenstein right behind him now trying to go to the inside. There's a big group of cars right now that are just trying to get going the right direction as Hagenstein gets to the inside of the 70. And that's a little bit of a product of the track kind of taking a different shape as we go through the run, because at the moment the tires are starting to wear down. The inside line, surprisingly, and this is something I didn't expect, but the inside line is kicking in after the tires get worn down. I wonder if there's any science behind why that's happening at this racetrack particularly, because usually the opposite's true.
Well, let's take a look at our weather here tonight. Ambient temperature about 67 degrees, 85 degrees the track temp is. Woo! Nate Stewart getting a little out of shape there in that 14th position. And I think if we just, if we continue in this long green flag run and we check back here in the next 30, 40 laps, I think that track temp will continue to climb because the more green flag laps that they lay down, the more heat they're going to lay down into the track surface, which could end up playing into the point you were talking about the possibility of the tires possibly wearing down, the pace backing down, and maybe these drivers feeling a little bit more of a slicker, loose sensation the longer we go into a green flag run.
A lot of these drivers have changed up their driving style since the beginning of the race, and it's noticeable because Adam Sweet was hugging it right down to the inside of the racetrack, kind of going through the middle of the racetrack in turns 1, 2, 3, and 4. But right now, he's actually kind of diamonding the car in, and especially in turns 1 and 2 is where you're seeing it the most, is that he drives it really deep and then really far up the track, cuts it down, and then kind of takes a straighter line out of the turn. He's started to catch some slower traffic. He's now put the 51 a lap down. That'd be Kyle Lawrence short. Next target would be Noah Carmichael. And this is a pretty good pace for the 55 of Sweet. Earlier in the race, we saw how dominant he was on the start and the restart. He was able to get the power down and really get a good gap back to the second and third place. And now we're seeing the overall pace that he does have. He's gapped himself back to the 003, and he's really not left it. He's stayed out in front, and now he's got a couple of drivers as lap traffic that the 003 is going to have to contend with. And I don't know, it just seems that he's able to put his car wherever he wants to. It's almost like once the tires start wearing off, he's able to really sling his car around a lot more. He's not carrying as much speed in these turns. He's able to really arc it in.
As the blessing and the curse of a short track, Nashville Speedway officially 0.596 miles in length, and while you're the race leader, you get to enjoy the view out in front. It doesn't last long because you're, at this point, going to be catching up to the tail end of the field. To your point, though, of Adam Sweet seeming to be able to put the car wherever he wants, it seems like when he's not having to make a pass, he likes to run just in between that first and second.
48's around.
And that's not going to bring out a caution just yet. 46 was awfully low there on the back straightaway. I thought he might end up hitting Andy Margot, but nope, no caution comes out. We still stay under the green, and there's probably a couple of guys just up ahead of Adam Sweet saying, where's the caution? Where's the caution? Because they're a couple of laps away from being put a lap down.
That was very untimely. I don't know why they didn't throw a yellow. He had his the rear end of the car sticking out on the racetrack. I guess he was far enough out of the way that it wasn't that big of an issue, but to your point, yeah, everyone in front of Sweet was hoping that was a yellow because he's not slowing down any at all. There's a couple of drivers in front that's got some damage, but the next one that is on the hit parade is the 82. That'd be Victor Valley, and he wanted that yellow to come out because he's got some pace. We've seen he's faster than most of the back markers at the moment, but the 55 is just that much faster, see, because he's right up on him right now.
As Adam Sweet starts to pull away, the battle for second has closed up. Brian Mercurio pulls up to the back bumper of Stephen Abigai, and we'll see as they close up on, I believe that is the 756 of Cyrus Goring, who is already 2 laps down. If that could be the opportunity Mercurio's looking for to move up into P2. I want to quickly go back again, though, to the point I was going to make about Adam Sweet before we saw the Margot machine spun out on the back straightaway. Is it seems like he prefers to run I'll call it the second groove, right in between those 2 lower sets of the dotted lines, the dashes through the corners, when he's not having to battle with somebody. But when he has to make a pass, that car seems to hook the bottom best of anybody I've seen in terms of being able to carry the speed through the shortest way around the racetrack through the corner.
It's almost like he flicks a switch inside the cockpit and adds extra downforce when he's trying to make a pass because it'll slide through a turn. Well, speaking of sliding, the 003 was definitely sliding, and now to the inside goes Mercurio trying to get to the second place, and he does clear Abigai going through turn 4, and there was a bit of a bobble coming out of the turn for Mercurio. So this battle right now is the height of it, and they had almost caught Sweet. Sweet was about ready to be challenged for the lead by these two, and then he found that extra speed, And now we got a heated battle for second place. Almost some contact. 3 wide with a lap machine. And Abagai backs out of it.
That would have been 3 wide with Cosmonish Shinoshu, who is trying to let the leaders on by, and he's running way up the track almost against the outside wall. Ooh, a little loose there off of 2 for Abagai, so that will secure the second position for the time being to Brian Mercurio, who runs currently a little less than a second behind Adam Sweet, but Sweet's job isn't over. Look here as we're on board with the 55 up ahead. That's a bunch of guys that are just inside of the top 25. You're seeing Adam Martin, Ethan Corder, Jordan Worth in this group as well, and you know that these are guys that are going to fight to stay on the lead lap.
Yeah, they are a lot more on the pace than the drivers that are outside the top 25 at the moment. So it's going to be a bit of a struggle for this 55 machine of Sweet to get around them. And that's going to be good news for Mercurio and Abagai because they had caught Sweet at one point. Now they got to get back and try to catch up again. It's not going to be easy, and there is a lap machine between Mercurio and Sweet at the moment. But as we alluded to earlier, that lap machine, the 82 of Valley, he's not slow by any means. He's staying put with the leaders at the moment. He's making himself a bit of a moving roadblock. As you can see, the 62 a little bit close. Now to the inside, tries to get around the 82. Can he make it work? I think he's going to do it. He's gone through, and now there's a battle for the lead between Sweet and Mercurio.
Also got a lot of battling back here around the 10th position. Jack Painter, Josh Goslin, Jonathan Oates. These guys are slipping and sliding as well, trying to battle for position all the while, making their way through lap traffic that the race leaders dealt with about 10 laps ago.
Indeed, they are. And we have a couple of the battles to really talk about at the moment. The 18 is now... we were sleeping on Josh Parker, but now he's battling for the third place position with Abagai. We didn't see him coming up through the field at all, and now all of a sudden, here comes that green machine trying to get through the field. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he's got one of the fastest cars on the racetrack at the moment because he's putting down some really fast lap times late in the run.
And that last time by, he was the third fastest of the top 5. We'll see about this time by. Ran a tick slower than Adam Sweet. The fastest car actually right now in the top 5 is the 62 of Brian Mercurio. So look out, Adam Sweet.
Yeah, indeed. He's right out there. He's trying to figure out a way to get around him because Sweet's been able to make his car about as large as one of the lanes here. Now to the inside. He got a good run out of turn 4. Not really anywhere to take it, though. And we're seeing two very different lines that these two are taking. Now they go to the side-by-side out of turn 2. Can he get the run? Does Mercurio? No. Can't get the run out of the turn, and that's a benefit that Sweet has over the 62 at the moment, is because he's able to get the run out of these turns while Mercurio is able to get alongside for the moment. It doesn't last when they go out of the turns, and they're running two completely different lines right now. Again, Sweet running that middle to high line, and Mercurio on the inside line. Now side-by-side again. Can Mercurio hold it down? Can he get the power down is the better question. They're still alongside. Oh, this is a gripping battle at the moment.
Definitely is, and for the time being, it looks like the outside line prevails on corner exit, but Mercurio's able to drive it so deep into the corner. Again, they'll be side-by-side heading down into 3, but it looks like little by little, Mercurio is inching ahead each corner. Pushed up a little bit there, and look at this, a lot of traffic to deal with as Mercurio does clear for the top position. Now he's the one that's going to have to deal with the traffic. First car he's going to have to deal with is the 818. That's Ethan Corder, right now running last car on the lead lap in 24th place.
That is a absolute cavalcade of cars right now going around the track. You've got lap machines in front, and now you've got a third challenger within the top 3 that's made his way up. Josh Parker not wasting any time, trying to go to the inside of Adam Sweet. This is a battle for second place now, as Sweet has used up a lot of his stuff. I don't know if he tried to use up his tire. Oh, and he gets high on the racetrack, almost goes up and bends it into the outside wall, but loses the position, but keeps it off the wall. Now Josh Parker goes after Brian Mercurio. And the lap machines aren't making this any better. It's almost trying to weave your way out of LA traffic at the moment. Man, this is, if they're not, the words, they don't happen. It's not happening, but this is incredible stuff right now.
Oh, look at that. Wow, 18 of Josh Parker ducked to the inside of, I think that was Corder. Kind of took him unawares. two of them almost made some contact, and there's the 92 that just got put a lap down. Driver that's up there in the points, Jordan Worth. Of course, he had that slide, a great save, but a big slide that dropped him way back in the field. Now he finds himself -1. Next car that Brian Mercurio goes to work on is going to be the 45 of Lucas Pelissel that we saw get involved. I think it was back in the second caution of the evening. So Brian Mercurio picking them up, putting them down. You kind of have to wonder here, if we don't see a caution in the near future, how many cars are we going to have left on the lead lap when we eventually get to the checkered flag?
It's the rate we're going, we're going to have 3 of them, and that would be the top 3 that's running right now. Adam Sweet's fallen off, but he's still quick. Josh Parker has found a 5th gear in these cars. They're about to have 5 gears, these cars are, but not these cars, but the Cup cars are about to have 5 gears, but these cars still only with 4. And
Josh
that
Gosselin
changes
in
everything.
the 52 has gone around. Looks like that's over in turn 2.
And he's just parked it up there on the outside of the racetrack, just trying to get back down, and I think he's swung it around now. Nope, still up there, but trying to get going. There's a lot of traffic you gotta wait for when you're at a short track, and trying to wait until his slot opens up, but that changes the entire dynamic of what we have just been witnessing. That big lead, it's gone, and those drivers that were in front that didn't want to go a lap down, I think they're thanking the 52 of Josh Gosselin at the moment.
Not sure who the first car 1 lap down was. I think it was the 056 of Luke Bryshop that will get the free pass here under this caution. 21 driver should be on the lead lap when we go back green. I mean, this was a couple of wrecks that should have happened. Our winner from a couple of weeks ago, Rudy Valentine in the 78. Watch him here on the center of your screen. He's going to get loose off the corner. There's the 52 just behind him. And, it's last week's 3rd place finisher, Nate Stewart, that slips up, clips him in the left rear quarter panel, and there you see the 52 counter steers back up towards the outside wall, and with facing the wrong way, the moving conveyor belt that short tracks are knowing for, he just had to wait until he could find a gap to be able to get himself back down and turn the right direction. I believe he actually lost a lap because of how much time he spent up on that outside groove. The race leaders were not too far behind him.
That was a good bit of driving, though, for him to not hit the outside wall. He almost saved it, too, but then it bit a little bit too much and got spun around. That could have been, we could have stayed under green that entire time, but the best news for Josh Gosselin right now is that his car isn't damaged. And while he is a lap down, he was one of the faster cars, so amongst the outside of the top 20, so he might be able to kind of scavenge his way back into the lead lap and might be able to pull something out of this. Is not totally unheard of, but with the amount of laps we have left, though, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, as we are almost to lap 75, and these laps at this racetrack, it's about the same type of lap time that we see at something like, it's like halfway between Martinsville and Bristol, so these lap times, they go by really quick, and, those races, full-length races, is usually 500 laps, so we're running a very abbreviated version of that, so these laps, this race is ticking down, and for these drivers that need to make moves, it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle for them to really focus on making these moves and really getting them done when they need to, because lap 7 seemed a long time, or a short time ago, when we're already on the 75, but Mercurio is still the leader, and Seth, if you're Mercurio, what do you got to do to keep these guys behind you? Obviously, Parker's fast, so too is Sweet, but Mercurio seems to be the fastest out of all of them, and now he's got clean track in front of him. Who's got the fastest car in clean air? Because it certainly was Adam Sweet earlier in the run.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The thing I'm kind of wondering here is what type of a restart are we in for? We saw some early cautions in the beginning stages of this race, and then we had that long green flag run. I think it was about 52 laps that we went under green flag conditions. If we go for short runs, obviously Brian Mercurio has got a very fast machine, but I don't know. In terms of the long run, working their way through traffic, it almost seemed like Josh Parker was a guy that picked up a lot of ground. So I would keep an eye on him here. He might be one of the few guys up here towards the front that can keep pace with the 62 as the green flag is back in the air. We did have a number of drivers take the wave around there, including Luke Colossal, Jordan Worth, Ethan Corder, Victor Valley, Kenny Brady, and Cosmin Shinoshu. So a total of 28 drivers on the lead lap here as we get back under the green flag just past the halfway point here tonight at Nashville.
I'll tell you what, Steven Abigai almost had a bit of a moment coming off of turn 2 a couple of laps ago, but he's gotten it back together. Now that yellow 003 trying to get up into second place. Josh Parker also almost binned it coming out of turn 2. So these drivers, it seems like they're a little bit taken aback by how fresh these tires are. You don't really expect these cars to have as much grip as they do at the beginning of a run, and then you put some fresh shoes on them, and all of a sudden they take the life. But we're back under yellow again. This time,
I believe it might be the 84.
Could be.
No, it's not Cosmin Shinoshu. I'm not sure who it was.
Cosmin Isioshu's been the center of attention more than a couple of times tonight, but don't think it's him this time.
Let's go back, see if we can find out who it was that brought out this yellow flag.
There was quite a bit of smoke on the front straightaway. Oh, it's
There
the
was
70.
Indeed. Oh, in that case, that would be Zach Hudson. See if we can find out what exactly happened to him. He was running on the lead lap.
It was not the 70.
Well, is that that's a 49, I believe. Noah Carmichael.
Carmichael
knocked
looks
down the outside wall there off of turn 4.
And then Hudson came in as a byproduct of that. He did a lot of damage to that car.
Of course, these drivers don't have the benefit of fast repairs. You're going to see a lot of wounded vehicles here by the end of the night. But I guess if there's one saving grace, it's a short track. And I've said this so many times, you don't have to win a beauty contest to still be able to win a race at a short track, because for the most part, it's all about throttle control and handling rather than it is about aerodynamics when it comes to short track racing.
Indeed, and there was somebody that said that it's better to have an ugly car at the end of a short track race because those extra little dents will give you some extra downforce advantage anyway. They're not sure how true that one is, but yeah, especially at this track, it seems to all be throttle control through the turns, especially coming out of the turns, because that's a pretty aggressive banking. It's not as aggressive as Bristol is, but you go on to basically a flat front and back straightaway, which is something that you don't have at Bristol. So it's fun to watch these drivers really kind of balance and feather the throttle coming out of the turns while also going as fast as possible. It's a little bit of an irony. We ask race car drivers to stay straight but also go fast, which is something very hard to do at some of these tracks. So go fast but be cautious while going fast.
You know, it's interesting. I was looking back here momentarily through the wins that Brian Mercurio has picked up here in the Grand National Series, and none of them have taken place at a short track. I guess the closest we would come to would be Dover, and that was back in the middle of May, but that's not really considered a short track since it is officially a mile in length. If we go back to find the last driver that is in the field to have won a race at a short track here this season, I'm not really sure we have one in the field here. I'm just quickly looking, and no, amazingly enough, nobody in the field here tonight has a short track win here during the course of this season Grand National Series. All the former winners are not in the 39 car field here tonight.
That's a bit of a shock, but it's good news for some of these drivers to get their first short track win, and some of these drivers are leading a championship right now and don't have a win, such as Andrew Schwartz, who's made his way up to 11th place, so I have to see if he can claw his way up into the front of the field. He usually starts at the back and then claws his way through, and by the end of the race, he's up in the top 10, sometimes at the top 5, and that's why he's the points leader despite not winning a race. Green flag is back in the air, and that was a whale of a jump that the 62 of Mercurio got. And now Josh Parker says it's time for us to battle, because now right to the back bumper of the 62 does the 18 go, and still under green, but second place, or make that third place under fire, side-by-side battle, and now first place under fire, almost a side-by-side battle.
Yeah, not only did Brian Mercurio like the fact he got a good jump, but Josh Parker liked the fact Mercurio got a good jump, because both of them were able to use the inside line going into turn 1. And look at this, leaning on each other are the Chevrolet Camaros of Abigai and Sweet for the third position, Ooh, Adam Sweet way up the track there, maybe a little too high. That opens up the door for the highest running Ford, which right now would be Jonathan Oates in the 73. He's had a bit of an up and down night. You wouldn't really think it, but he started from the pole position. We then looked back at him about 20 laps into the race. He was running back around 24th position. You can see he's got some damage on that machine, which I think he got back in the first 10 laps, but he has soldiered his way back up into the top 5. And you talked about Andrew Schwartz, the guy that he's trying to rustle that points lead away from. Schwartz has cracked the top 10 right now in the 10th position.
And then you got third place in the standings, Nathan Rabideau, right behind outside the top 5, right behind Abigai. So the entire top 3 of our point standings is running in the top 10, and a couple of them are going the right direction. That being Jonathan Oates right now in 4th place, trying to run down, battle for the lead between Parker and Mercurio. Does Parker have the run in order to get out and stay in front? No, but if that was a battle for the finish, he would have gotten it. But Parker's still not clear of Mercurio. That outside line not quite kicking in until the tires get worn. Or Parker goes around, but man, what a save.
Man, oh man, that thing was slideways off of turn 2, but he keeps it going. He is going to lose the top position back to Brian Mercurio and now falls back into the clutches of Adam Sweet. And you know, we were looking earlier on towards the end of that long green flag run about drivers sliding around. I think a big reason for that was they abused their tires and they were just struggling for grip. With that slide we just saw Josh Parker have, you gotta wonder if these guys have to have in the back of their mind that there is every possibility that we could run this race green to the finish. You've got to preserve those good years underneath you because it's going to be very difficult trying to make moves for spots in the top 5, in the top 10, or even for the race win when you've got no grip in your tires. And now the caution is going to wave again. This is going to be Lucas Palesel on the back straightaway along with the 46 of Robert Dorman.
I was about to say, too, while you were talking about that, Jack Painter also almost brought out the yellow because he got slideways going through turns 1 and 2 and almost brought out a yellow, but he was able to save it as well. Actually, he did loop it around, but it was just far enough back that they didn't throw the yellow. But now a 2-car incident has brought us under yellow flag, and that changes the dynamic yet again.
It definitely does. This is going to put, I believe, Dalton Cowden back on the lead lap. So 30 cars will be on the lead lap. And there you saw the contact between the 45 and the 46. Very fortunate with where they were running that more drivers didn't get involved because there was quite a palather of machines just around their vicinity. So pretty good that we got away with just a 2-car incident there on the back straightaway. And I was kind of in the dark of where these guys were in terms of how far they could make it on fuel, with the fact that they were able to go almost 55 laps on that long green flag run. I believe most of them at that point hadn't even come to pit road yet, so they had gone about 74, 75 laps since starting the race and had not come to pit road at all. I would say that everybody here is good to make it on fuel. We did have some drivers hit pit road though, and I'm going to assume that that was to take on a set of tires.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though that it seems that these drivers are a little bit better when the tires get worn, certainly with fresh tires, you are much quicker in the first, say, 10 to 20 laps, and that's going to make the difference between these drivers that pit and these drivers that haven't pitted. A notable driver that hasn't pitted is Josh Parker. He has stayed out on the racetrack, not opting to come down to pit road, and about everyone else behind him that was running outside the top 10 also stayed out. But there are a lot of drivers who came down, including our former leader, Brian Mercurio. Jack Painter stayed out, so now he runs in 13th, but Adam Sweet and Nathan Rabideau came down. In fact, everyone pretty much in the top 10 came down, so we had a little mixed bag of strategies, including the wild card out there, Josh Parker, who stayed out, even though that he was one of those drivers that would have been the one to come down pit road.
Talked about the fact that long green flag runs will put us into tire strategies. These drivers had 4 sets of tires here tonight, the set that they started the race on, and 3 sets awaiting them in pit road. Your top 8 have not been to pit road since back on lap 73. Kyle Lawrence Short and Victor Valley running in 9th and 10th. They were last on pit road back on laps 81 and 82. And as you just alluded to, Brian Mercurio as well as Jonathan Oates, Adam Sweet, Nathan Rabideau, they just came to pit lane. So we've got some varying tires up here inside of our top 15. Going to be a lot of fun to see, who's got the advantage here. And I like the call here on the 62, especially of Brian Mercurio, because again, he's not running for the championship here in this series. He very much so, along with guys like Blake Reynolds and Kyle Riley, Ryan Vargas, they're trying to keep that 62 up there in team and owner points. So roll the dice, take this gamble, see what those fresh tires can do.
And on the other side of the gamble, you see people like Andrew Schwartz, who didn't come down pit road, now lines up 4th place for this restart. So he can make some noise and try to extend his points lead, because right now he is in front of Oates, which Oates did come down pit road the last time by. So not really a big gap between these two. There is a big gap, I should say, between these two drivers now, as Oates will line up 10th place on this restart. So Schwartz playing the longevity game, trying to stay out on these tires as long as he can. They only had a few laps worn in on them, so probably won't make that big of a difference, especially with these lap traffic, or not lap traffic, but these other traffic that stayed out, as well as the drivers that were have been known to show some speed. It could be a bit of a, maybe not a race winning move, but certainly a points lead saving move on the part of the 67 team.
Well, if you look at our point standings coming into tonight, if you look at our top 15, only 2 of the Grand National Series regulars have gone to victory lane this season, and the both of them won at super speedways. Brett Pancari won at Talladega. Jake Poulin won the season opener at Daytona. So there's a lot of guys up here inside of the top 10 that are running for the Grand National Series Championship that could be looking at their first win of the season, as things are stacked up from 3rd place on back. There's our Monza winner, the 78 of Rudy Valentine, there on the top side of the points leader. And now the caution's going to wave again.
That's for I believe the 17 machine. Dalton Cowden involved in this one. I think it was a solo spin on the front straightaway.
Saw that he was just near the exit of turn 4. And I think you are correct. I think that would have been just a solo car incident for him. We'll see if he got some help, though.
I think he might have in the 56.
Yep.
That
Reichkoff gets him in the left rear quarter panel, sends him around. Fortunately, that was towards the rear of the field, so not a whole lot of oncoming traffic.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, though, because we've seen stuff like this happen towards the back of the field, and they don't call a yellow. This time they did, so maybe because it was high up on the racetrack, but he certainly had enough time to get going before the rest of the field came around. But either way, we are under yellow flag yet again. And if that was any indication of what Josh Parker's car was like even after not taking tires, then I'm scary to think of what it would be if he did take tires, because that was on rails.
Well, it looks like we didn't have anybody inside of our top 30 come to pit lane here under this caution. And I mean, what does this say to us? Does it say that these guys up here that didn't come down to the last caution, they've kind of made their bed? They've said, all right, we're just going to keep this track position now for the final 50 laps, hope that our tires hold out and keep the fresh tires behind us at bay?
You almost have to. I don't think there's any way that you can come down pit road now and still make it out in any sense of where you started this next cycle, or the final, say, 25% of this race. All those drivers behind, because they came down pit road, they don't have to stop again for anything unless they happen to get involved in something or their tires wear out. There's no need for them to come down for fuel. There's certainly no need for them to come down for tires unless they really just want the advantage. The guys in front, they stayed out. They kind of don't have that option anymore. They have to stay if they want to keep the track position. And if these quick cautions keep coming out, not saying that they will, but if they do keep coming out, then it's going to be increasingly difficult for the drivers that did come down to pit road to get back up into a contending spot for the win of the race. Now, they have faster cars, for sure. Mercurio, Rabideau, those drivers, they have faster cars than, say, Naraki or Valentine or Rice or Stewart. But because they have track position, it's going to be much harder for them to get back up to the front of the field. And Narwaki almost bend it into the outside wall while under pacing.
Josh Parker's going to take the top side again here on this restart. He'll give up the inside line to Tristan Hagenstein. Let's take a quick look here at our race recap. We've run 7 cautions for 35 laps here tonight. 7 drivers have taken a turn at the front as we're 105 laps, soon to be 106 laps in the books. 30 cars running on the lead lap. 36 are still running in this race. The only drivers that currently are back behind the wall: 37th place Rich Jameson, 38th Joe Berge, and 39th Dakota Ehrman. So when you consider the fact that we had such a huge field at a short track, these guys have done a pretty doggone good job of keeping it under the green flag.
Absolutely. That big green flag run in the middle certainly helped out a lot. Green flag is back out in the air, and now Rocky the backs or the outside of Hagenstein trying to get second place. And that double or that 0-2 is showing some speed late on in the race. He might be able to get up to the front and challenge for the lead of the race, but to the inside, he gets second place. Now puts Hagenstein to third, and now Andrew Schwartz, the points leader, still looking for his first race win of the season, is now in fourth place. But this is kind of indicative of what we see throughout the entire season. Stays at the back. Whoa, I saw that in the back
there.
I think
the 0-4.
Yeah.
Yes. Tyler Lannon, what a save, as he was 3 wide for a good portion of that back straightaway. Kept it down below the yellow line, was able to let everybody on by as he gathered it back up. That was a heck of a job there by the 0-4.
And the 0-0 of Poulin was in a 3-wide situation.
We're leaning on each other around 7th. That was Valentine getting sent up the track courtesy of Nate Stewart.
They're definitely not wasting any time. They know the laps are ticking down. There's only going to be 40 laps to go when we cross the stripe, and that seems like a lot, but not at this track. So you got to make your moves, and you got to do them now. Parker is saying, okay, guys, continue to battle. I'll enjoy this nice, clean racetrack. But, yeah, you said 7th on back is definitely prime real estate at the moment, as we got some drivers trying to make their way back up through the field.
Oh, 93, got some help from behind by Matthew Zwack. Caution's going to come out, as he was able to gather it back up, but since he was sideways in front of oncoming traffic, race officials doing the prudent thing, throwing the yellow flag out. But that spin actually started all the way back towards the entry of turn 1, because it looked like Matthew Zwack had to lift a ton to avoid running him over, and eventually made the contact nonetheless.
We also have another spinner going down the front straightaway, though. It's Andy Margo, and the 48 took a ride to the inside wall.
And that actually might have been the reason for the caution coming out. We'll take a look here once again at the contact between Zwack and the 18, the 93 there of Rabideau, slideways in the middle. 18 actually kind of helped straighten him back out. And to your point, that might have actually not what brought out the yellow. I thought it was, because it was the only incident I saw at the time. We'll go back and see what happened to Andy Margo, who was running on the lead lap at the time. Not certain what position he was in. But this is his adventure coming out of the final corner, 3 wide with Sean Butler and Kyle Lawrence short.
And then he just lost it going down the front straightaway, and then Adam Martin came in and plowed the inside wall. I think he was trying to get on the brakes to avoid the 48, but kind of misjudged it and just plowed in the inside wall. That car isn't as damaged as it could be, but that was a hard shot taken by Martin.
Definitely was. Nosed that Toyota Supra into the inside wall, which is not a safer barrier, by the way. And Andy Margo is actually on pit road now in the 48, along with a couple of other machines. Cosmo Shinoshu hit pit road. The 111 of Adam Martin was on pit lane as well. This caution coming out, I believe, puts the 84 of Cosmo Shinoshu back on the lead lap, which is why he came down to the attention of his crew here under this pacing. So Josh Parker will get us back under the green flag, with Ryan Narwaki now up to 2nd, Tristan Hagenstein in 3rd, Andrew Schwartz in 4th, and Brian Mercurio in 5th. But the thing that I love about short tracks is you look at the drivers up inside of the top 10, and it's not a case of the drivers that start at the front are up at the front. Parker, yeah, he started up inside the top 10 in the 9th position, but Ryan Narwaki's been able to work his way 115 laps later after starting this race back in the 22nd position. I mean, that's further back than mid-pack for the 0-2, and now he finds himself up here with a shot of winning this race. And I mentioned coming into tonight, he's one of those guys down around that bubble spot for the final playoff position.
Yeah, and he's shown some pace as well. It's not that he's gotten here by luck. He certainly had some strategy to help him get here, but he has, for the most part, just been a fast race car, and now we've consistently seen him get into second place. He's elected the outside of the racetrack, as I believe that, well, I think he was forced to the outside of the racetrack, but he knows that that outside line has some advantage to it because Josh Parker keeps choosing it. I would dare say that now Rocky is probably going to be out of these drivers. Now, I mean, Mercurio's back in the field, but if now Rocky can stay up here, he might be able to really clinch his way into the championship if he can indeed keep his car clean. We'll have a couple laps to see if he can indeed do that as Josh Parker and Tristan Hagenstein line up in the front row. Does Parker get another good run? Yes, he does. Not wasting any time. Green flag back in the air, and the green machine of Josh Parker is checked out.
It's going to be a couple of Mustangs battling for second place. Actually make it 3 blue ovals as Andrew Schwartz enters into the vicinity. And here come those fresher tires of Brian Mercurio. He's now worked his way up to 4th, almost into the back of Ryan Araki there as he's trying to get around Andrew Schwartz, moving his way up into the top 5, now to the inside of the 0-2 into 1.
The 003's around the front straightaway, and now that could have been worse than it was. That was intense.
Stephen Abagai, who had been up inside of the top 3 in the early stages of this race. That car went into a slide up towards the outside wall. He was able to keep the thing going, maintains a 17th position. Justin Malello will get the free pass under this caution. Let's go back and take a look at what you were talking about. It certainly looked, at least from real time, just back in the camera shot, that we may have dodged a bit of a bullet here.
Yeah, they were 3 wide going into turn 3 between a lot of drivers. The 18, we've been calling it the 18 earlier, it's the 118, but the 18 and the, oh, I think there was some netcode involved there. I don't think that they ever touched.
And that was, the 92 of Jordan Worth that was also in that. Both drivers were on the lead lap. They had taken Sweet in the 55 up to the top side. Yeah, I think you're right. I think there was maybe a little bit that came into play there. Sent him down across the nose of the 92, but very fortunate the fact that that car spun back the correct direction, had the outside wall to kind of aid him and keep him going. We also saw another driver ran into trouble just before that. Kyle Lawrence Short in the 51, he knocked down the outside wall off of turn 4, but he was also able to keep his car going straight. He did not bring out this caution flag, and so we had early cautions, we had that long green flag run. I kind of had the feeling as we get closer and closer to the end of this race, when we got to 50 laps to go, Mark, we were going to see these drivers be more aggressive, less room be given, and I think we're going to be seeing the old adage, cautions breeding cautions here down the home stretches. We'll be getting the green flag with less than 30 laps to go. Just want to point out what you were talking about there too, about the fact that Josh Parker is the 118. These drivers are allowed to run triple-digit numbers here in the series, but a number of them run with the small one you see right there next to the normal number. So Josh Parker theoretically is one of the 18 cars out there, but he is the 118, as the 18 car is actually driven under the number Matthew Zwack has. Zwack right now beside the top 10 there as well. It's kind of how we said that Twilight Zone when we saw the two of them battling for a top 10 spot earlier on in this race.
Indeed, so as two almost identical cars, both Kyle Busch specials, and NOS and Interstate Battery, which I prefer the Interstate Batteries car, but that's only because I used to be a fan of that when it was Bobby Labonte, so I'll take that with whatever pinch of salt that you want to, but Josh Parker is making that car look beautiful tonight. Not even a scratch on it. I thought he had some rear end damage earlier, but it's actually just it was an illusion. He's actually kept this car extremely clean, and that he doesn't look like he's been at a short track. Pretty much everyone else behind them has some kind of dent on their car in some sort of way, but he does not. He's been able to really use his car. I think the cleanness of his car is really what's aided him in the speed department, because while these restarts have been amazing, no one's been able to really catch up to him. He has been able to find out what groove works the best, and once he gets into clean air, that 118 is a rocket. I don't think anybody on this restart's going to catch Parker, save for maybe Mercurio, which if he gets a good restart and gets into some clean air, we could see a battle for the lead heating up pretty quickly.
Right kidney corner of the 118 is Mercurio, restarting in the third position. Green flag back in the air. That outside line gets going because Parker was the control car. Now Rocky's going to move into second place around the outside of Tristan Hagenstein, or will he? Hagenstein battles back on the bottom. Looks like the 0-2 might be clear. 3 wide. Here comes Mercurio, trying to get 2, maybe 3 birds with 1 stone.
He's trying. Whoa, out of the outside line was Oates, almost getting into the outside wall, but continues to go straight. They're backing up behind as well. Between, I think that was the 18.
Flat. Caution's gonna fly. Matthews White. Oh, more contact. Kenny Brady, Valentine there on the back straightaway.
It's a parking lot back here.
There's the 46 of Dorman there as well. As the 97 waiting for his opportunity to get turned back around. There's Matthew Zwack. Oh, look out. Has to hit the brakes as Brady comes up in front of him. Zwack was the one that originally spun around over in 1 and 2, and then it was a huge stack up on the back straightaway involving a couple of former winners from the last couple of weeks, Kenny Brady in the 97 and Rudy Valentin in the 78.
That was a big crash that happened, and that could easily have ended. Well, I mean, it did end up in disaster this time, but goodness gracious. And that was the problem. I think they were 4 wide at one point when they were going through there. They were certainly 3 wide. And then I think that a couple drivers came in late and made it 4 wide, but this was they're battling for a race potential to get into the top 10 at this point. And I think it was just a big stack up and turned into a car park at the end of the thing. But man, just a lot of cars turning around the wrong direction.
So many moving parts right there. It's hard to tell whose initial contact started this. That's Gary Waterworth. That's Adam Sweet. Kenny Brady gets a little bit of contact from Porter in the 18. Jake Poulin puts the 97 up into the wall. So there was a lot of movement around there, a lot of contact being exchanged, and it's one of those cases where you'd have to go back and microscopically look at every hit to be able to figure out just who caused what.
Look and see if your favorite driver's number was involved, and hopefully it wasn't there. Hopefully it wasn't your favorite driver that was involved. But yeah, a lot of things happened in a short span of time. Kenny Brady, I think, what I believe happened at the initial thing was when Brady got spun. That's when everything broke loose, and then it just turned into it just got worse and worse after that. The 00 made more contact with Brady, and then everyone kind of tried to check up, but the track's so thin that there's nowhere for anyone to go. And man, that was the biggest wreck we've had all night, and I think that it's taking Kenny Brady out of the race, showing that he's retired from the event. So that damage on that car, not enough to repair in the short time to get back on racetrack and continue on the lead lap. So one driver from that has retired officially. I think another couple of drivers might have. Not sure if they were involved. I think the 818 of Ethan Corder was involved in that one, so he's officially made his way out of the race as well. So 2 drivers officially out of the race after that last incident.
Also looks like Steven Abigai has taken his car to the garage area, and Luke Brightshop actually turned his car to the garage area about 28 laps ago. So 7 drivers officially will be out of the race, at least at this point, as we're going to get the restart with 20 laps to go. The driver that got the free pass under this caution, I believe, was the 04 of Tyler Lannon. So 28 drivers will be on the lead lap when we go back green. 32 still running on the racetrack, and Josh Parker up through the gears. Nothing Tristan Hagenstein could do. I think he was trying to time that restart, and boy, did he have it wrong.
Yeah, he definitely did. And Mercurio wasn't wasting any time. He almost forced it 3 wide going into turn 1, but thought better of it. Saw what happened the last time these drivers went 3 wide, but now to the inside, he's contact with the 00. I'll make that the 02 of Naraki, but still Mercurio to the third place position. 13. Where did Nate Stewart come from? All of a sudden, he's making moves late in the race. He's down to the inside of Naraki, trying to take fourth place away. He might do it as there's still contact between them.
Nate Stewart has been muscling drivers out of the way here on these last couple of restarts. Last week, his best finish of his career, third place at Charlotte Motor Speedway, trying to better that here tonight, looking for back-to-back top fives as he's trying to complete the pass around Ryan Araki up ahead. Brian Mercurio, he took a peek to the inside of Tristan Hagenstein for second, but was not able to complete a pass. Nate Stewart, on the other hand, he did complete the pass. He's now up to P4.
We've been kind of glossing over Hagenstein. We've mentioned a lot of drivers that have been around him, but never him directly. But he's got a fast car as well late in the run. And right now, Mercurio, just based on the fact he's got fresher tires, are now trying to take advantage of that. But that aside, this 27 machine is wicked fast late in the run. He might have a challenge to stay within the top three at least, but now to the inside goes Mercurio with ease to the inside of the 27, now takes second place. And if I'm Josh Parker, I'm hoping for another caution right about now.
Yeah, Brian Mercurio going to move into that second position, has about 7/10 to make up on Josh Parker with 15 laps to go. You mentioned about Tristan Hagenstein. He is up there currently in the playoffs points-wise. He is still looking for his first win on the season, but amazing enough as well, he only has one top five coming into tonight. That was a fourth place run at Talladega, so he might be looking for his best finish on the season if he can hold off a hard-charging Nate Stewart. A couple of other drivers that have had great comeback runs here tonight. Jordan Worth, he had that big slide, fell a lap down during the long green flag run. He's recovered up to 7th place, and just a ways outside of the top 10, 11th place is where you find Victor Valle. He was a lap down earlier on in this race, so there's a number of drivers here this evening based off these late cautions that have made some good comeback runs and kind of are looking like they could either finish up inside the top 10 or top 15 after what looked like destined finishes of outside the top 20.
That's just a product of short track racing. Just because you go outside of your comfort zone doesn't mean that you can't pull it back in. And so for some of these drivers, that meant a damaged race car and a potential of DNFing. But again, if this was a speedway, I don't think that we'd be seeing any of this happen. But because we are at a short track, this is where we're seeing this. And that's another point that why short tracks have got to be one of the best tracks to watch these kind of races. But Narwaki, we were talking about him having some speed. I think he's lost a bit of it because now here comes Oates to the inside to try and take 5th place away. Narwaki doesn't want to give up that 5th position. He wants to hold on to it. I don't think he's got the speed though, because the inside the 73 going to make quick work of the double or the 0-2. And now Oates sets his sights on Nate Stewart. And oh, by the way, Jonathan Oates comes in 2nd place in the point standings.
Oh, wow. We're making contact for the lead here, Anthony. Mercurio got to the inside of Parker, tried to push him up out of the groove, and he's finally going to complete the pass. Or is he? Parker looking for the crossover out of 2.
Parker really wants that lead back. He wasn't wasting any time, but I don't think that Parker's going to have anything from Mercurio because his tires are so much better right now. About 20 laps fresher tires does Brian Mercurio have, so it's going to be a bit of a mountain to climb up. Now, once these tires kind of even off, we did see that Josh Parker had the faster car in the later run, but there's not enough laps left. I don't think there's any chance right now that Parker has unless a caution comes out, and if it does, I give Josh Parker the advantage on the restart. He's been so fast on restarts, but at the moment, it's all Mercurio.
But going back to the point, oh, caution is out. You just mentioned the caution possibly coming out. I believe it's Sean Butler in the 32 who was up inside of the top 10.
And make that Cowden also was involved with this one. There's actually a couple of more drivers that are involved in this one. As on the front straightaway, and I think further down there was in contact because now Butler was involved, but also too was Cowden. In 2 separate parts of the racetrack, they might be 2 completely different instances.
Let's go back first and see what happened to the 32 of Sean Butler. I believe last I looked, he was running in the 9th position. Correction, he would have been running in 11th place, battling here with Evan Rice. Oh yeah, there's the wreck back there that you were talking about with Cowden. That actually was the one that brought out the yellow. This was the wreck just a couple of corners later with Butler going around. Let's actually go back to the front straightaway because the 117 of Dalton Cowden going around is what brought out this 11th caution of the night.
Yeah, these two crashes were completely separate of each other, and Cowden was loose early. He was loose there was contact between him and the points leader
There was
going
a
into
lot of
turn 3.
contact. It looked like Andrew Schwartz wanted that inside line. Cowden just completely blocked him down there. And Andrew Schwartz, he was determined he was going to take that line. And you're right, as the 117 trying to gather it up, a little bit more contact between those two. I saw that the 48 of Andy Margot slid into the incident. There was another car as well that got a piece, and I'm not certain who that was.
It's a 00 of Poulin.
Jake Poulin, our Daytona winner.
I don't think they really had anywhere to go. They had already committed. Well, actually, what happened with the 48 is he got some help and just kind of spun in, got Poulin involved, and then they almost were able to avoid it, but both of them not so lucky. And what the ironic part is that I was just about to talk about the points leader before that caution came out, and lo and behold, he's part of the reason why the caution came out. So commentator's curse strikes again. Really need to learn to not say anything late in the run, because that's kind of where these bad things happen. So from now on, we'll just we'll not mention anything about who might possibly win, because that might just take them out of contention. But as far as we go, we might get an in-regulation race if they go back to green in enough time. But we're going to come to 2 laps to go. I don't think that they're going to. It might be a 1-lap shootout, but we're about to find out.
I think we're going green, white, checker, to be honest. I don't think that with the limited number of laps they've got left here in regulation, I don't think they're going to have those lights go out atop the pace car here. Well, then again,
they're gridding up.
Doubling up.
They are.
And,
1 lap.
wow.
Nope. It is going to be green, white, checkered.
It will be a green, white, checkered. And
Mercurio's pulled off.
What's going on with the 62?
Problems. Drama for the 62 as he's going to the back of the pack. Do you think that there might be a penalty that he's served?
Wonder if it might have been a restart violation from the previous restart, perhaps? I don't know, but boy, that just shuffled up the competition up here at the front. Josh Parker now has Nate Stewart to his outside. Green flag in the air. Can they make it back around to the white flag, or will we have another attempt? That's the big question.
Right now, Parker peeling away.
There's caution.
And that was quick.
Andy Margot in the 48, I do believe, was back in the vicinity of this. Caution's going to fly for the 12th time here tonight. We'll rack him up and do it again. We'll put Josh Goslin as the free pass machine. He's 2 laps down, so he will now be -1.
So what brought this yellow out?
Yeah, 48
Margot.
off of turn 4, yep. Looks like he might have spun the tires here on the restart.
Ooh.
Is there contact there between himself and Leyen?
I don't... There might have been, and if there was, it was slight. I don't... although the car reacted as if he did get... Oh, no. He got into the 04.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yeah, that's what I was asking Tyler Lannon there in that 04. I didn't know if from that camera shot that we were looking at there, couldn't tell if maybe he got into his left rear quarter panel or not.
Oh, I know what happened. It was a stack up because he got into Lannon, and then Margot kind of checked up, and then behind he ran into by the yellow and black machine, the 32. That'd be
Sean Butler.
Yeah, so there was a stack up coming down to the green white checkered.
So, as stated, we rack them up. We try again here. Josh Parker. Right now, with the fact that Brian Mercurio has fallen to the back of the pack, now running in the 26th position, we're still not really certain what happened there. I would have to assume it could be one of 2 things. Here's the 2 things I'm thinking it could have possibly been. Either one, it could have been a restart violation, but I'm almost wondering if maybe he missed the choose cone. If maybe he didn't pick a lane, inside or outside, until after they had crossed the choose cone area, which is, of course, that first dash, lower groove dash going into turn 3. That's the only other thing I could possibly think of that would have caused the 62 to have to drop to the rear of the field.
That's a huge penalty if he did miss that. That's a huge error on his part. That could have that he was leading the race, and now he finds where is he right now? I'm trying to find him. He's back in 25th. So whatever has brought him this penalty is certainly did a number on him. If it was the choose cone violation, then whew, that's a stiff penalty, and you can see everyone's like, okay, we need to get to the inside and get this choose cone.
Yeah, I have a feeling it might have been that choose cone. That might have been what caused the problem for Brian Mercurio. Not 100% certain, though, but just the way that everybody came off of turn 2, choosing their alliance, kind of almost says to me that might have been the case. Now, for those that haven't tuned in to the FTF races, didn't tune into last week's race at Charlotte, the way these overtimes work, they have 2 attempts at a green-white checkered in which we rack them up and try again. If we reach the 3rd attempt at a green-white checkered, we run to the checkered flag no matter what happens in that 2-lap shootout. So we've got one more shot here for a caution to possibly come out before the race leader takes the white flag. But if the race leader, Josh Parker, does cross the line, the white flag is displayed, we race back to the checkered flag no matter what. So this is the 2nd of 3 attempts here, and Parker, kind of his MO tonight has been to start on that outside line. He'll have Hagenstein, Nate Stewart, Jonathan Oates, and Nathan Rabideau, the top 5 behind him. Green-white checkered attempt number 2.
Parker got another good restart, now he's checked out, 3 wide back there for 2nd place. Oates sends it to the inside, not wasting any time trying to get into 2nd. Has to back out of it a little bit, but now we'll have alongside the 13, and now we try again.
Lucas Polessel on the back straightaway, and the 45 goes around. And so now we're basically into the point of no return, so to speak. It's going to be one final 2-lap shootout to decide your race winner here tonight in the split-second broadcasting 150. Let's go back to the back straightaway, see what brought out caution number 13.
I think it might have been something similar, but this time coming out of... Oh, they were 4 wide.
And that's Valentine, I believe, in the 78. That hooks the left rear quarter panel of Polessel.
They were trying to fit too many cars in a spot that couldn't fit them, and yeah, Polessel just got a little bit of contact and got sent around. Oh, that was an interesting bobble that happened with the 78, though. I almost think that the 78 might have bogged down a little bit and then got up back into the 45. They could have saved that one.
Let's actually go inside the cockpit of the 78. Maybe got a little bit loose there, was trying to gather up the race car, and that's what caused that bit of overcorrection. Oh yeah, we're gonna look at this and you can just see there's a lot of hand movement. I think that's exactly what happens. Oh yeah, you see right there, he was out of shape. He was trying to catch that thing, and that's not the situation you want, having to try and catch a race car when you're in the middle of a 4-wide situation.
Yeah, Valentine did a good job of keeping his car straight at the expense of Polessel, but man, that 4 wide. I did not tonight think that we would see 4 wide at this racetrack, but lo and behold, that when you're in a two-lap shootout scenario, you will do some desperate things to get some positions, and that was a bit too much. Thankfully, though, and again, we keep saying this, but it still holds true, that could have been so much worse, given the fact that there was a lot of drivers behind them still, and the fact that there was it was 4 wide. All 4 of those drivers could have been involved in on that last caution, but there was only one that spun down. Now, unfortunately, that one that spun down is going to obviously be the one that suffers the most of it. He has a lot of damage as a result of it, but thankfully, those drivers behind them and the other 2 that were involved, nothing really bad comes of it. So even though the track is tight, they certainly can race here.
And Josh Goslin, with these 2 overtime yellows coming out, he goes from 2 laps down to now last car on the lead lap. He will restart in the 28th position. So he's got a chance here in this final 2-lap shootout to make some forward progress, maybe snag a top 25 out of the evening. He was destined to finish in the 29th position here this evening. So big break for him. This is going to be our final attempt at a green-white checkered overtime finish. No caution will end this race. We will race to the checkered flag. So basically, it's you got what you got. And it's come down, Anthony, after all this to just who's got the best car for 2 circuits around this near half-mile short track.
And if the track gets blocked up, they're going to have to figure out a way to navigate it. Green flag back in the air, and Parker wasn't wasting any time. Back to the front of the field, and now second place might be the ones that bring out the wreck, but so far Nate Stewart powers his way into second place. Everyone's stacking up behind him as we are coming down to the 1 lap to go. Everyone trying to get around everybody, and the 73 now finds his way back into third place. So too does I believe it's the 32.
Pretty wide back there. Gary Waterworth, Ryan Araki, Jordan Worth in the mix of that one. They all keep it straight for the time being. There's a wreck in the back. That was sweet. He collected up somebody. It might have been the 18, but off turn 4, Josh Parker is going to pick up the win tonight at Nashville Speedway. The split second broadcasting 150 goes to the 118, and I apologize. I looked all through the point standings to see if I could find his name. I think it might be his debut in the series here tonight, and what a way to kick off your FTF Grand National Series career.
A win under your belt. First race that you start in, and he's going to burn it down in front of the Nashville fans. There was a wicked battle for second place, a drag race between Jonathan Oates and Tristan Hagenstein, and Jonathan Oates is the one that prevails at that one. And if I'm not mistaken, he takes the points lead at the end of this race. But Josh Parker, you can't script it. He got out in front and he never looked back, even when the guy that had the fastest car in order to challenge him gets it right beside him. He ends up going to the back of the pack due to a penalty. So this was a dream debut for Josh Parker.
Started this race in the 9th position, and we really never even started to mention his name until the race leaders caught up to that slower traffic at the tail end of the field. That's when he started making his forward progress, up to 3rd, up to 2nd, and eventually challenging for the race lead. But to your point, as soon as he got to the front, yes, he had some challenges there from Brian Mercurio, but Parker definitely made himself one of the favorites here tonight. And Jonathan Oates, who we're going to be talking to momentarily, along with Hagenstein and your winner, Josh Parker, he is officially going to take that points lead. He finishes 2nd here tonight. The guy that would formerly came in the points leader, Andrew Schwartz, finished 4 laps down in the 31st position. And if you looked at Jonathan Oates' race here, if you looked at a grid of where he was running in this entirety of the race, it would probably look like a heart pulse because it was up, down, but it ended on the upscale here, finishing in the runner-up spot.
Indeed so, and that's the beauty of these kind of racetracks. You can have those kind of nights and still make it up into the top 10. There's a couple of drivers that went to the back of the pack and came back up. Some drivers that just went backwards and never found their way back to the front of the field. Ryan Naraki, at the end of that run, he ended up in a 7th place position. He was in 2nd place and 3rd place for most of those final closing laps, but finds himself in 7th place. But there's a couple drivers that did not fare so well even further than that. We were talking about him. The driver who was the 2nd or the 1st fastest car for most of the night, I'm looking around for him and I can't seem to find him in the top 10. I don't even think he finished somewhere in the top 20.
15th if you're looking for Brian Mercurio.
Yeah, Brian Mercurio finishes 15th tonight. So he was up at the front, went to the back, came up to the front, and then fell down even further than that after that penalty. So it's been an up and down night, but it's not all been good for some of these drivers.
Mentioned the fact that Adam Sweet, we saw he was wrecking on the back straightaway there on the final lap. Dalton Cowden might have been the car that he got into. Sweet's going to finish last car on the lead lap after starting this race up towards the front, so certainly not the run he was looking for. Led a good portion of the early stages of this race as well, and here are the drivers that really, especially in the second half of this race, Nashville did not play nice with them. Andrew Schwartz, multiple laps down, will be losing the points lead. Last week's winner, Kenny Brady, finished out of the race in the 34th position. And, tough break there for a guy like Dakota Ehrman, who never really got out of the blocks, got involved in a wreck. I think it was on either the 1st or 2nd lap. That car's suspension was completely crunched. And he finished many, many laps down, never even made it past lap 10. Will finish in the 39th position here this evening. But Drivers that now will have a chance to catch their breath in an off week before doing it all over again in another short track at North Wilkesboro in 2 weeks' time are standing by for some interviews. And let's kick things off with our third place finisher here tonight, Tristan Hagenstein. Hey, Tristan, Anthony and Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Well, we're doing great, but I first want to know, what is the heart rate going on right now with you? Because not only did you have a fast car, get that good track position with some pit strategy, but then you had to try and hold off a lot of hungry drivers behind you with somewhat fresher tires to be able to clinch this podium finish.
Yeah, there's so much going through my mind right now. First of all, I can't believe so many people came in. I forgot what caution number it was, but we only had like 10 laps on our tires, and everyone came in except for me, Josh, and a few other guys. Also, first off, congrats to Josh on the win. He well deserved that one. But then the cautions came. That played into our favor. And we were just kind of hanging on for dear life at that point. I knew Brian was coming. I knew Jonathan was coming. I knew they were going to be aggressive. I guess we got a little lucky there when Brian hit the cone to kind of salvage still a top three. I'm speechless, honestly. This is just this is awesome.
You had one of the fastest cars in the later run of tonight, and it certainly showed later on, and you touched on it, how some drivers' misfortunes kind of paid into dividends. But how did your car feel tonight? Because we had that long green flag run, but then everything kind of closed up towards the end of the race, and we had a lot of short run bursts, but it seemed like you could put your car wherever you needed to and have it work for you. How did the car feel in the long run, and then how did it feel late in the run when it was more or less just a couple of drag races?
Yeah. First off, I love this track, and this is one of my favorite tracks on the sim. And we had a great run here last year. Also, we had a top 10 car last year, and couldn't capitalize on that last year due to a last lap wreck. But we managed to get it back this today. Over the long run, after talking to some of my fellow competitors, it seemed like my tires held up much more than them. I don't know if it's because I was just saving a little more or what, but the car did exactly what I wanted it to do all night. I mean, we didn't have enough speed to get the win, but we had enough speed to definitely salvage a top 5, and that's exactly what we did tonight.
Tristan, obviously here tonight, you guys are going to be able to have a little bit of a break. You got an off week next week, but then we go the following week to another short track at North Wilkesboro. Is it like two different animals, or is there anything from how your car felt here tonight that you can then apply in terms of race strategy in 2 weeks' time?
Wilkesboro's a interesting one. That's definitely, it's different, but at the same time, it's kind of the same concept. When you look at the short tracks as a whole, for the most part, it seems like you just got to survive until the end. I'm pretty sure, aside from Talladega, that's where all our top 10s have came from, is the short tracks, and I'm feeling really good about it. It's not one of my strongest tracks, but I definitely think we proved something tonight that we can definitely be a top 10 car any given night, especially on the short tracks. So, definitely looking forward to it.
Well, Tristan, as we documented, you're coming into this race up there in the playoff standings, trying to lock yourself up a spot to battle for the championship. A great run here tonight, which will continue to move you up the point standings. Congratulations. We're now going to turn the microphone over to you. Let you do some thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Yeah, for sure. First off, I want to thank you guys in the booth. You guys put awesome, bro. I know you guys just came back. This is your second race. Last week was awesome, and it's great to have you guys back in the booth. I want to thank the admins for always hosting these. These are a lot of fun to race. I got to thank the boys at Clout Empire Discord. You know who you are. I just want to thank everybody who supports me, I guess. It's not often I get in the booth to do these, so this is kind of new to me. But regardless, I hope everybody enjoyed the show.
Tristan Hagenstein bringing home third place here tonight in the split-second broadcasting 150, his second top 5 on the season, and his best finish of the season so far. Congratulations, Tristan. Enjoy your off week, and looking forward to seeing you go right back to work at North Wilkesboro in a couple weeks' time.
Thanks, guys.
Well, he came and started this race as the pole sitter. He leaves tonight as the points leader. Let's talk with our runner-up finisher, Jonathan Oates. Hey, Jonathan, Anthony and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you, Seth. I got you, Anthony.
All right, man. Well, first off, you started this race up at the front, captured the pole position, but then we saw that you actually kind of dropped outside of the top 20, had to work your way back up to the front. So how difficult is it to start out there in clean air, then find yourself back in traffic and have to kind of exercise patience to get yourself back up there again?
The hardest part about it is no doubt the morale. I mean, I was ecstatic to be starting on pole. The first time I've gotten that this series. I know I was good here. I know I could contend for the win. Getting that penalty, I was pretty upset at the time. It's written in the rule book, so yeah, I did break the rule. Fair is fair. I had to go to the back. On one hand, I want to say that it was all about, patience and really planning out the moves, but no, a lot of it was just sending it every chance I got and getting to that bottom line, because I noticed everyone else was taking this really wide arc, and I'm sure that was great for tires, but I had a lot of spots to make up. I knew I could still get a top 10, top 5, which, hey, I ended up getting out of this race if I just pushed hard enough, so I had to send it. I had to go for it. I had to kind of see where everyone else, the spots on the track that everyone else wasn't covering up, and go for those spots. And that's how I ended up getting up to 7th, and that's how I ended up coming away with P2. So a lot of it was just about being aggressive and not wrecking on my way back through the field.
Now, making your way back through the field, we'll touch on that because it wasn't easy at this racetrack. There is so much traffic, especially when you get into the later run where everyone's stacking up and then kind of slinking back together as soon as the restarts happen. And towards the end of the run, were you finding it more difficult to get around the cars because they were trying to make some desperate moves as well? So we're seeing 2, 3, and even 4 wide at some points, and then having to navigate that. So what was your mindset going through trying to work through traffic?
Was mostly just, please do not get in my way, because I mean, hey, they could race me all they want. It's their right. We were racing for position. But I was honestly just hoping that they were going to at least take it a little bit easy on me, or that I was going to be fast enough to get around them pretty easily. Luckily, for the most part, there were some pretty hard passes to make. I know for a while there I was battling with Jack and Rudy, and those are some really, really strong drivers. They were battling with each other, and I kind of just had to take advantage of their slight mistakes to try and work my way through, and it was incredibly difficult. But just being able to, plant my car on the bottom and get it off the corner, that was really the key to making all those passes. But no, it was definitely not an easy track to pass at, especially with how bumpy the bottom line is. I had to search around a lot. I had to look around for grip. I was able to find it, luckily, and got my way up to P7, which was, I think, pretty good. But it was not at all easy to get back through the field.
Well, your ability to be able to work through the field at a short track, I would have to assume that this is going to build the confidence level going into another short track in 2 weeks' time at North Wilkesboro. And not only that, here tonight, the second place finish has you at the top of the standings in the overall standings heading into that race. So, is there some nervousness now to try and preserve that points lead? Is there a lot more confidence going into North Wilkesboro, knowing that you were able to work your way up through traffic at a short track here tonight?
I wouldn't call it nervousness, because I know that I'm good at the short tracks. I know that I'm pretty strong at North Wilkesboro, so I'm excited to go there and try and go after a win. I'm not really sure how much the points lead impacts a lot of it. I mean, it's really cool to be able to say that I'm leading the points in the series, because it's an incredibly strong field, and to be one of the best drivers, at least of the ones that are competing regularly, is a pretty cool feeling. So it definitely builds a lot of confidence, but I'd say that it doesn't change the focus. It doesn't really make me more or less nervous. I still want to go out here and contend for top 5s, top 3s, and ultimately I want to try and win a race before the playoffs. So it doesn't really change my approach to anything, but it definitely helps build my confidence a little bit, especially going into a track as I'd say treacherous as North Wilkesboro, because once one car gets spun there is not a lot of room to avoid it. So it's going to be difficult, but having this confidence boost is definitely pretty helpful.
Well, congratulations on a great run here tonight. Jonathan started first, finished second here this evening at Nashville. We're now going to give the opportunity for some thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Well, I don't have any sponsors, but I'd love to give a massive shout out to all of my teammates over at First Four Racing and our affiliate team. I don't know what the name. I think it's Painter Slipstream Racing, but I might have forgotten the name of my own affiliate team. But I want to give a shout out to all my teammates: Sears Gringe, CJ Nemitz. He couldn't race tonight. He was off watching an actual race. Robert Dorman, Jack Painter, Rudy Valentine, Adam Sweet, who might not be racing in a couple of weeks because he might have been suspended. So maybe not the best time to get a shout out to him, but still want to give a shout out, and also Tyler Williams. They're a great group of guys to work with. It's really awesome that I get to be on a team with some of my best friends here in FTF. It's really fun to be able to come to the race each weekend and just try and have a fun time, and also contend for some spots at the front. So I got to give a big shout out to all the F4R guys. We've been getting a lot better recently. We have polls in the last 2 races now. We've been getting a lot of cars in the top 10, so a lot of improvement and a lot of really good signs, and it's great to be able to work with them.
Well, Jonathan Oates, or as one of our commenters in the YouTube chat called him, Jonathan Goats. He brings it home in the second position here tonight at the Nashville Fairgrounds. Congratulations, Jonathan. Enjoy that points lead. Enjoy your off week, and we look forward to seeing you go right back to work in 2 weeks' time at North Wilkesboro.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Let's go down to victory lane here. Now, kind of interesting because if you look at our entirety of the top 3, every single one of them coming away tonight with their best finish of the season here in the Grand National Series. And I finally did indeed find Josh Parker in the point standings. He's running for the FTF Cup Series Championship. He has made 4 starts here in the Grand National Series, but his best finish, it was at Lucas Oil. It was 17th. It's his first top 10, first top 5, and first win of his Grand National Series career. We're going to go talk with him now. Hey, Josh, it's Anthony and Seth up here in the F4N booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Man, that car was flying as soon as you got it to the front. But Anthony, we're kind of touching on it early, like around the midway portion of this race. We didn't really talk a lot about your car until the leaders started catching traffic. That's when you started making your appearance up there inside the top 3. But once you got to the front, seemed like there was no looking back.
Yeah, coming into practice, I for some reason I was faster off the bat. I haven't ran this track in a long time, so I was shocked, and for some reason it just fit my driving style. And I started saving tires first of the run just in case we went green, and luckily we did. So I don't want to say I was faster than the leaders. I was definitely as fast as them, and lap traffic helped me get to them. And then the yellows just fell in the right spot. So like I said, the race just played out, how it was supposed to. I got lucky at the end with Brian, kind of paying attention to the Nets game there, but he was pretty much the only one I had to worry about because of the fresher tires. But like I said, everything worked out.
Yeah, you were an absolute lightning bolt on restarts. It's kind of interesting to watch you. You're the only one that really chose the outside line when a restart was coming, but you were able to make it work wonders for you. But once you got out front, did your car feel like it was better in clean air? Because a lot of drivers behind were catching up, even that they had to get around lap traffic and had to work their way to the field. But once you got out in front, it was kind of magical watching how quick that you became. So was the clean air definitely a factor in that, or were you just more comfortable running that you could run whatever line you needed to?
Honestly, I don't think personally, I didn't notice the air really affected me. The tires kind of came into play a little more than the aero did. So by the time, the tires wore out, aero really wasn't, a factor. You can kind of move around a different line with entry and where you're apexing it, and I've noticed. So I didn't really have, the only time I noticed it was on the really, really long runs when I was running them down. When I was tucked in behind someone, took all the air, all the air off my nose, and I couldn't really get to rotate. But other than that, I really didn't have a huge issue with aero, and at the end of it, just being in the lead with the yellows falling the way they were, like I said, aero wasn't an issue then either.
One thing I got to ask you here, Josh, is, when we saw this race go into a long green flag run, as typical at the short tracks, we knew that if a caution was going to come out, there was going to be a lot of varying in terms of tire strategy. Obviously, you were of the crowd that decided track position over tires, made your last pit stop on lap 78. We then look at some other drivers that decided to come down pit road as late as lap 92. How worried were you about those fresher tires back there? Was there a huge amount of difference in tire grip in translation to speed, or really was it all about track position tonight?
Honestly, I was surprised how many people pitted there. I really didn't even think it was a thought. For anyone to come down, seeing that we'll probably go back to green with maybe 75, 60, 70, I don't know, somewhere around there, the laps left. And you're going to assume we're going to have a bunch of cautions. And I feel like by the time they did get back to me, if you did pit, their tires would even out. But Brian was the first one to get to me, and I was actually surprised how much of an advantage it was to have those. It was only like 7 or 8 laps, fresher tires. It was so much faster. But like I said, I needed the yellows to fall in the right spot, and it would have worked out. I mean, obviously it did because he got the penalty, but I would have ended up finishing second to him. But like I said, I mean, I wasn't going to pit. It wasn't even a thought in my mind. I was surprised so many people actually did.
Well, tremendous run for you here tonight, Josh. Started this race from the 9th position, but as we said, as soon as you got up there to the front, Anthony called you a lightning bolt. I think he was making a reference to the lightning bolts on your interstate batteries machine. But, man, great run for you here tonight. Your first win here in the FTF Grand National Series, and we're now going to turn the mic over to you. Let you do some victory lane. Thank you, sponsors and shout-outs.
Yeah, first and foremost, thank you guys for doing the broadcast. Gonna go back and watch a little bit of it to, I'm sure everything's awesome. And Justin, I've known Justin for a long time. When I first started Simerson a long time ago. What he has here is an awesome league, really good competition. So I'm pretty stoked to win here. Interstate Batteries, Joe Gibbs Racing. I'm in the eNASCAR Heat Pro League on the console side. So give a shout out to them, everything they do for me over on that side of it. And like I said, you guys for doing this broadcast. Brian, for getting the black flag. Thank him for that. I think first that's the biggest thank you I gotta do.
Well, Josh Parker, he's your winner here tonight in the split second broadcasting 150 at the Nashville Fairgrounds. Congratulations, Josh. Go and enjoy that victory.
All right, appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
Well, I feel like I say this way too often, but it usually ends up being the way it is at the tracks that are lower than a mile in length. Those short tracks, normally we come away from them and we say, yep, that was a normal short track race. Those early cautions, the long green flag run, and then of course when that caution comes out late, the restarts are going to be crazy, and those caution flags, they're going to wave a little bit more often.
Absolutely, especially when drivers are starting to make desperate moves, and when you get into a late run, there's not a whole lot of laps left. You want to get out in front. You want to get there as quickly as possible. Sometimes you end up running over some of the drivers that are next to you, and we certainly saw quite a few of that happening. We saw 4 wide at one point late in the run, but it's a product of short track racing. You have to be aggressive late in a run if you want to get up and have even a chance to get a decent finish. But the long run that we had too really got to show what these drivers could do. They got to stretch their legs. They knew exactly what they needed to do in order to really get that car going in the right direction. And especially in the earlier stages, it seemed like everyone's going to stay on the same tire strategy. And then all of a sudden we got some different tire strategies. So it's short track. It was a short track race, and it was not only a short track race, but it was a pretty good short track race.
You touched on the 4 wide, and you also mentioned it back during the race as well. And of course, FRN had the privilege to call a number of the Grand National Series races last year. And if there's one thing I learned about FTF, if there's a lane, they will use it. They used all 4 lanes here at Nashville, which makes me wonder in 2 weeks' time, what are we in for at North Wilkesboro? Because we even heard our 3rd place finisher, Tristan Hagenstein, say there's not a whole lot of room to maneuver if a car is out of shape in front of you.
No, not at all. And when you have a track that's extremely close to quarters, especially when the walls are so close, there's not a whole lot of runoff area that you can actually use in order to avoid things. So it's going to be a battle of attrition, but that's what short track racing is. We're going to a classic one. I can't wait to see the modern cars at the old track. It's always a treat to see that. And, we might see more of what we saw tonight and a little bit more aggressive, because that track is quite a bit quicker than this track was.
We'll be taking an off week next Saturday night, and then on July 3rd, these drivers will take to North Wilkesboro for the Motorsports Drop 150. Just 8 races away from when we're going to be determining the drivers that will be battling in the playoffs for the championship here in the FTF Grand National Series, presented by Barr Visuals. But a good one here tonight in the split-second broadcasting 150 under the lights at the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Josh Parker, your winner. Anthony, appreciate you joining me in the booth for some good old short track racing.
It's always fun to see some cars run over each other and get damaged and still manage to drive like they hadn't had any damage. So again, thanks for having me, and hopefully to do this again in 2 weeks' time when we go to North Wilkesboro.
Sounds good. Thanks to everybody that tuned in tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed our coverage here of the FTF Grand National Series presented by Barr Visuals. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks' time at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. For Anthony McCurry, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday night as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.